Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I am here with layout 5 for How to Kill a Kit with Style, February 2019, and today I am doing this week's Scraptacular Cropping Club Challenge to do this cathedral window technique, which is super cool. There's a tutorial that Desiree did for us over on the Facebook page. I will link it below, but basically all you need is a circle punch, any size circle punch. So I think most people have circle punches. You could use a die as well. It would take way longer than just having a punch, but definitely doable. So I'm just going through a bunch of scraps, and anything that was big enough for me to punch a circle in, I punch a circle. So this is another great way to use up scraps and 6x6 paper pads. So that's just where I'm starting. I'm just going to punch a whole bunch. The only other thing you need is some sort of sturdy cardstock. I used poster board, and you just need to trim a square that fits inside that circle where the corners of the squares reach the edge of the circle. And you're just going to fold the circle over the square, if that makes sense. So I'm just doing that a bunch of times here. I'm just going to do that with all of the circles until they're all done. So I try to speed this up a lot because it was very repetitive. Almost done. I think I have to do a few more after this too, but this is most of what I need, and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to use them yet. I just know I have to use them somehow. So at first I'm thinking I might make an abstract looking shape with them, maybe across the background of my page. And I think that's a pretty cool idea, but once I throw my photos into the equation, I'm using 3 photos, so it's another multi-photo layout. It was just covering up too much of the design and I just couldn't make it work. So I end up running them down the side of the page in a column. And I really like how that looks. It's a very cool technique, and I really don't have to do too much more to the page after this, to be honest, because with it being a 6x6 paper pad, all the prints are small, so it can end up being really busy. But I really like how it turns out. But it is a kind of a show-stopping technique on a page, so you don't have to do a whole lot after you do this, which is nice. So I'm just going to go ahead and piece them all together. I'm going to run them off the side of the page and then all the way down to the bottom. I'm going to leave a gap where I know the photo is, just so I don't waste those triangles, because I know I'm barely going to have enough. But I'm just trying to make sure those patterns are mostly spread out and there's no 2 similar ones right next to each other, at least not very often. And then I'm just going to trim off everything that hangs over the edge. I leave my corners popped up a little bit so there's some dimension, but you don't have to if you don't like dimensional pages. You could definitely brandish those edges down so they lay flat. But I liked how mine looked lifting up a little bit, so those are where my photos are going to go. This was right when Bennett came home from the hospital. So we met my sister. My sister came home from the hospital, and me and my mom drove over to the house and met them there so that we could snuggle him while her and Daddy got cleaned up and relaxed a little bit, because they'd been in the hospital for 3 days. So me and my mom were happy to be on baby snuggling duty while they did that. But this page is about that yellow blanket. So they couldn't find Bennett's baby blanket, so they pulled out this one. This is my sister's baby blanket from when she was itty bitty, and she loved it. It was her blankie. She took it everywhere, and there was no seeing her without this yellow blanket. And when I came in the house and he was wrapped in this, the feels. It was so nostalgic and emotional, and just seeing her little baby wrapped in that yellow blanket that she loved so much, it was just so sweet. So I wanted to make sure I documented that, because I don't think he's been in this yellow blanket since, because they found his actual baby blanket, which is super nice. My brother got it for him. It has little dinosaurs all over it. But yeah, I wanted to make sure I documented him in this yellow blanket just because of the significance and the symbolism that it had. So I did mat the big photo. I'm not going to mat the 2 smaller ones. I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to go on the page. It's looking a little funky. So I do pop up the photos a little bit just on some thin foam, because those cathedral window pieces do have some dimension, so it would have not laid flat if I didn't pop the photos up. So they are going on foam again, and then I'm just pulling in the die cuts and everything to see what I can use. I'm really irritated at myself at this point, because this is page 5 And I have yet to use those puppy stickers. There are still 8 of them. I started with 8. There were 30 in the pack, so to be fair, the first time I went through this pack, I only had 8 left out of 30. But yeah, I threw them into this kit to get them used up, and I've yet to use them. So they're getting dumped on this page, all except for the hammer one. They're gonna get dumped on this page. But I'm thinking I just want something behind those photos because it's just looking weird. So I try and do a branding strip. That's not looking right. Then I see, I wasn't going to pull in any craft, but then I was like, wait a minute, I think I want to use those craft thickers, so I need craft somewhere else. So I do pull in a scrap of craft. And what was kind of cool, the stripes on the craft match up with the stripes on the background paper. So it's very subtle, but I think it's kind of cool that it lines up perfectly. So where I place the craft paper is exactly where it is on its actual piece before it was in a scrap. So I thought that was kind of a cool touch, but I am just going to layer that behind the photos just so there's a little bit of craft, so it's not just the thickers, so the thickers don't look out of place. I'm getting all that glued down. I'm going to make it look like that craft piece stretches behind all of the photos. There we go. And I know I want to call this Mom's Yellow Blanket, but I am actually getting down on those stickers, which is a good thing, but also frustrating because I wanted the whole title to be in those stickers, and I definitely was out of multiple letters that I needed. So I just pulled in these root beer float thickers. They're black foam, and I'm going to do the yellow and black in these stickers, and then Mom's and then the date will be in the chipboard thickers. So I try again, I try to do yellow, and then I'm like, I don't have any E's left. Grr. That's okay though. In the end, I'm kind of glad I also had to do yellow in these black thickers just so it was mirrored and it wasn't just that one word that was in a different thicker. I was out of L's, so I did cut an H. But I kind of like how those looks because the two pieces of the H were different heights, so it makes it look kind of whimsical and wonky, and I kind of like that look with those black thickers. I like the juxtaposition of those funky black font with the very straight craft chipboard font. But yeah, I threw all of those puppy stickers on there and I'm just going to do my journaling. It's nice because this background already has lines on it, so I'm just going to journal on the lines even though they are unevenly spaced. I'm just going to journal on them like that. It just says, Grandma and I met you at your new house when you got home from the hospital. It was so touching to see you in your mom's baby blanket from when she was little. She loved it so much that she took it everywhere. And then I just want to scooch Mom's over because there was that weird space between the die cuts and the title, but that's the finished page. It was pretty easy. I really just let this technique speak for itself. It looks super technical and super complicated, but it's actually really easy. So if you want to, Desiree has that tutorial, and it was really fun to do, especially to use scraps up. But thanks guys for watching. Bye.